Am I the asshole for asking my partner's sister to reimburse our flights after agreeing to babysit her toddler for a week?
Oof. Okay, yeah, you can already feel the tension just from the title. Flights involved, a whole week, a toddler.
Right. So the original poster, JWall0804, and their partner agreed to fly out, to watch their nephew, who's like 1.5, for a full week.
Okay, a week with a toddler is intense. Why were they doing this?
Because the sister and her partner were jetting off on some big international vacation.
The classic, we need free childcare for our fancy trip scenario.
Pretty much. And crucially, the OP mentions they're trying to save money right now. This trip wasn't like a fun visit they planned anyway. It was just to babysit.
Okay, so that context is really important. They're making a specific trip, potentially using vacation days,
Yeah.
and are budget conscious.
Exactly. So naturally, or maybe naively, they kind of assumed the parents taking the fancy trip would, cover the flights. It seems reasonable, right? You're enabling their vacation.
One would certainly think that covering the travel costs for someone doing you a massive favor like that would be part of the deal, or at least offered. It's a huge commitment, time off work, the travel itself, a week of childcare.
Totally. But, oh, when they actually brought it up, this sister, disaster.
Let me guess, it didn't go well.
Not exactly. Apparently, the sister hits them with the, oh, we're broke now after paying for our trip, and acted like they were crazy for even asking.
Wow. Okay. Broke from the international vacation, but expecting free fly-in childcare. That's a choice.
Right. Talk about feeling taken for granted. The OP definitely sounded like, hang on, are you serious? It's that feeling of your generosity just being completely stepped over.
Yeah, that underlying tension is palpable. It really taps into that tricky area of family obligations versus, well, basic consideration.
Which naturally leads us straight into the glorious chaos of the Reddit comment section.
All right, let's do it. So the first big question everyone probably jumped on, who's the asshole here? The OP for asking or the parents for not offering?
Okay, so there were definitely different camps. We saw some everyone sucks here votes. Barbara Millicent was one, basically saying, look, communication fail all around.
What was their reasoning?
They thought the OP should have asked about flights before agreeing, and the parents absolutely should have offered up front. Basically, everyone dropped the ball on talking specifics. Assumptions were made.
That's a fair point. Clarity beforehand avoids this exact kind of mess, especially with money. But I bet there were strong feelings the other way, too.
Oh, yeah. Big time. The not the asshole crowd was loud and clear. People like existing Fox 6317 and Deadly Mule and a Half are basically saying, are you kidding me?
What was their main argument?
That it's completely outrageous to expect someone to use their paid time off, pay for their own flights, and provide a week of intense childcare just so you can go on vacation. Like, that's not a small favor. That's a massive imposition if you don't cover costs.
Right. They're seeing it as exploitation, essentially. Deadly Noodle and a Half even push back on the everyone sucks thing, asking if it's really so wrong to assume your family wouldn't take advantage of you like that.
Exactly. Where's the line? Is it always on the person doing the favor to spell out the terms, or should the person asking for something huge have some basic awareness?
It really hits that nerve of family expectations versus personal boundaries and costs.
And can we just circle back to the we're broke excuse after booking an international trip? Come on.
That part seems particularly hard to swallow for many commenters.
Yeah. Existing Fox 631C called it straight up irresponsible. Like, you're going overseas, leaving a baby, and you have zero financial cushion. What if something goes wrong?
That's a really practical point. And Marion Barrioke 2874 asked, why even go on a big vacation if you can't afford potential costs related to your kid's care or you're gone?
Seriously, it feels so entitled, like, our fun is the priority, your time and money. Not so much. It's like asking someone to donate a kidney and then making them pay for their own ride to the hospital.
Okay, that's quite the metaphor. But it does capture the perceived imbalance, doesn't it? The scale of the ask versus the lack of offered support.
And it wasn't just flights. The commenters went deeper.
Ooh, what else came up?
People like Image Fight Me and Muddle A started asking practical stuff. Like, did the parents even leave enough food? Or are the OP and partner supposed to buy groceries for themselves and the kid all week?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that hadn't even occurred to me. Temex mentioned that specifically. The food cost.
Yep. And Helena Handbasket brought up a car. Did they leave a car? You can't be stuck in the house for a week with a toddler without transport. Think emergencies or just sanity.
True. That's a huge logistical point.
So suddenly this favor isn't just PTO and flights. It's potentially food, gas, maybe other kid-related stuff. Carring and Z and Detona Cat letting you know summed it up. This could actually cost the OP significant money beyond just the travel.
It really snowballs from a request into a potentially large, unacknowledged financial burden.
And Rimsup Chap was like, dude, you got to talk payment before you book flights. Seem obvious, maybe.
It does seem like step one, but again, there's that counterpoint from Deadly New Land to half, should you have to ask. Shouldn't the person asking for the giant favor, especially family, have the decency to offer?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is it naive kindness to assume they'll cover it? Or is it basic decency for them to offer? It's so awkward talking money with family sometimes.
It is. It requires navigating that line between um, transactional agreements and the spirit of helping family.
Yeah.
Maybe the responsibility falls more on the person making the big request to be upfront about costs and logistics
Yeah.
to initiate that conversation.
See, that's your thoughtful take. My gut just screams if you're asking someone to sacrifice a week of their life and fly across the country for your vacation, the least you can do is say, hey, let's talk about the flight costs. Don't make them ask.
No, that's a very understandable perspective. The scale of the request does seem to shift the onus, perhaps. And looking forward, commenters like TinkerPro and Active Drawer really hammered home the advice.
Yeah.
Just talk about it, clearly, directly, especially the money part. It's maybe awkward, but way less awkward than this whole situation became.
For sure. Lesson learned. Assumptions are the enemy, especially when family and finances mix.